Rainy Mondays and bad meetings. The fluorescent lights of the conference room hummed, a soundtrack to Maya's growing frustration. Mr. Thompson, a man whose tie screamed louder than his actual ideas, droned on about synergistic opportunities and thinking outside the box. Maya stifled a yawn, resisting the urge to correct his misuse of industry jargon. Outside, the rain lashed against the window, mirroring the tempest brewing within her. Maya, your input on this innovative paradigm shift? Mr. Thompson finally asked, his gaze landing on her with the force of a wet sock. She managed a tight smile. While I appreciate the enthusiasm, I think we need to ground this in reality. The budget simply doesn't allow for this level of paradigm shift without sacrificing key projects. A vein throbbed in Mr. Thompson's forehead. Sacrifices must be made for progress, Maya. Think bigger. Bigger, she thought, like the hole this meeting was burning in her afternoon. She glanced at her watch. Another 30 minutes of this, and she'd spontaneously combust. The rest of the meeting was a blur of buzzwords and condescending pronouncements. Finally, blessedly, it ended. Maya practically sprinted out of the conference room, the image of Mr. Thompson's perpetually surprised expression fading in the distance. The rain was coming down in sheets. Maya hunched her shoulders, pulling her coat tighter as she fumbled for her phone. Ordering a ride was the only option. She tapped the app, grimacing at the surge pricing. A small price to pay for escaping this Monday from hell. The app pinged, driver assigned, ETA 7 minutes. Standing under the inadequate shelter of the building's awning, Maya watched the traffic crawl by. Each passing car splashed a fresh wave of water onto the already soaked pavement. She felt a drop of water trickle down her neck and shivered. This day just kept getting better. A beat-up, but surprisingly clean, silver sedan pulled up. Maya hesitated. The driver's window rolled down, revealing a man with warm brown eyes and a hesitant smile. Maya? He asked, his voice a low rumble that somehow cut through the downpour. She nodded curtly, already bracing herself for awkward small talk. Yes. Sorry, I'm drenched. He chuckled, a genuine, unforced sound. No worries. Hop in. It's a monsoon out there. Maya climbed into the car, sinking into the surprisingly comfortable seat. She mumbled a thank you, already pulling out her laptop to catch up on the work she'd missed while trapped in that meeting. Her mind raced through the mounting tasks awaiting her attention. The driver, noticing her preoccupied state, didn't immediately launch into conversation. Instead, he focused on navigating the treacherous, rain-slicked streets. A comfortable silence settled in the car, punctuated only by the rhythmic swish of the windshield wipers and the drumming of rain against the roof. Maya appreciated his quiet consideration. Maybe this ride wouldn't be so bad after all. She didn't realize it then, but this was more than just a ride, it was the start of something unexpected. The unexpected detour. Morning, sunshine! Leo chirped, his grin wide enough to power a small city. He leaned across the passenger seat of his ridiculously clean convertible, popping the door open for Maya. Maya slid in, her expression a thundercloud. Don't call me sunshine. She slammed the door a little harder than necessary. Leo, unfazed, simply chuckled. Rough night? You could say that. She mumbled something under her breath about spreadsheets and demanding bosses. The convertible roared to life, the engine a stark contrast to her simmering annoyance. They'd barely driven 5 minutes when Leo slowed, squinting at a cluster of orange cones and a sign that screamed road closed in capital letters. Seriously? Maya groaned, pinching the bridge of her nose. What now? Leo consulted his phone, his brow furrowed slightly. Looks like there's been a mudslide. We'll have to take the scenic route. Scenic route? The phrase dripped with irony. All Maya wanted was to get to that stupid conference, present her flawlessly prepared proposal, and maybe, just maybe, salvage what was left of her professional reputation. The thought of adding an extra hour to the journey sent a fresh wave of frustration washing over her. Scenic route means longer, right? She asked, the edge in her voice sharper than she intended. Yeah, Leo admitted, his voice losing some of its earlier cheer. Probably adds about 45 minutes, maybe an hour. But hey, he added quickly, trying to recapture his earlier enthusiasm, it's a beautiful drive. Lots of trees, little waterfalls. Think of it as an unexpected mini vacation. Unexpected mini vacation. As if. Maya stared out the window, watching the gray, industrial landscape blur past. Little waterfalls indeed. More like a cascade of anxieties threatening to drown her. The detour started innocently enough, a winding road that snaked its way through rolling hills. But soon, the asphalt narrowed, the trees thickened, and the GPS signal weakened. Maya felt a knot tighten in her stomach. This wasn't scenic, it was bordering on treacherous. Are you sure this is the right way? She asked, her voice tight. Leo glanced at the GPS, then back at the road. Pretty sure. It's rerouting a bit, but according to this, we're still on track. On track to where? The middle of nowhere? Her voice was laced with sarcasm. She knew she was being unfair, snapping at Leo for something completely out of his control, but she couldn't seem to help herself. The pressure was building, a relentless tide threatening to pull her under. And this unexpected detour felt like the final straw. Stories in traffic. The brake lights ahead pulsed red, a synchronized dance of frustration. Maya sighed, drumming her fingers on her briefcase. This is delightful, she muttered, more to herself than Leo. He chuckled. Tell me about it. Reminds me of the time I worked as a mascot for a frozen yogurt place. Full body suit, the whole shebang. One particularly hot August day, I fainted right in front of City Hall. Woke up covered in melting strawberry swirl, surrounded by pigeons. Maya raised an eyebrow, a ghost of a smile playing on her lips. You were a yogurt mascot? The best darn yogurt mascot this city ever saw, Leo declared, feigning offense. Until the heat got to me. Apparently, extreme yogurt enthusiasm isn't a substitute for electrolytes. The image of Leo, prone and sticky amidst a flock of opportunistic pigeons, was too much. Maya laughed, a genuine, unforced sound that surprised even her. Okay, that's pretty epic. I'm suddenly feeling much better about my day. Excellent. My suffering serves a purpose. He grinned, then glanced at her. So, what exactly made this traffic so delightful? She hesitated. Work stuff. I had a meeting with Mr. Thompson. Leo's smile softened. He clearly understood that Mr. Thompson wasn't just work stuff. The infamous Mr. Thompson? I've heard whispers. Sounds like a charming fellow. Charming like a root canal, Maya said dryly. He wants me to redo the entire Peterson account proposal. Says it lacks vision. Vision, huh? And you think it's perfect as is? Perfect is a strong word, Maya conceded. But it's meticulously researched, strategically sound, and frankly, brilliant. Thompson just likes to hear himself talk about synergy and blue sky thinking while contributing absolutely nothing. Leo nodded sympathetically. Sounds about right. I once had a boss who thought brainstorming sessions were improved by juggling oranges. He wasn't very good at juggling. Maya snorted with laughter. Did he at least wear a clown nose? Regrettably, no. Though he did have a tie with little rubber chickens on it. Almost as terrifying. The traffic inched forward. The sun glinted off the windshield, momentarily blinding them. Seriously, though, Leo said, turning down the corners of his mouth, if you need a fresh pair of eyes, or just someone to vent to who understands the unique torment of corporate buzzword bingo, I'm your guy. Yogurt-stained experience and all. Maya studied him for a moment, the easy warmth in his eyes disarming. It was a refreshing change from the calculating gazes she usually encountered. Maybe I will take you up on that, she said, a small smile returning. Though I can't promise there won't be PowerPoint presentations involved. PowerPoint is my kryptonite, Leo joked. But for you, I'll brave the bullet points. He winked. Besides, I'm sure your vision is far superior to Mr. Thompson's anyway. I bet you could sell ice to Eskimos. Maya laughed again, the sound lighter this time. I'd prefer to sell him a one-way ticket to Siberia. But thanks, Leo. I appreciate that. Compliments and blushes. The aroma of roasted coffee beans swirled around them as Leo expertly navigated the Saturday morning traffic. Maya, usually tense behind a desk crammed with architectural models, found herself surprisingly relaxed. The city blurred past, a kaleidoscope of brick and glass, but her focus remained on the easy rhythm of their conversation. You know, Leo said, pausing at a red light, I'm genuinely impressed with how you handled that client meeting last week. Jensen can be a real shark, but you stood your ground. Maya scoffed, a playful glint in her eyes. Shark? He's more of a grumpy guppy. Besides, I had a well-designed life raft. A life raft filled with blueprints and unwavering conviction, I imagine. He grinned, and Maya felt a warmth bloom in her cheeks. It wasn't just the heat radiating from the dashboard vents. Something like that, she mumbled, turning her gaze to the window. The reflection showed a faint blush creeping up her neck. She hated being so transparent. They lapsed into a comfortable silence, the only sound the soft hum of the engine and the distant city sounds. Maya watched a young couple holding hands, a pang of something unfamiliar tugging at her chest. She quickly dismissed it. Relationships were messy, time-consuming, and rarely as perfect as those glossy Instagram posts suggested. Still, the image lingered. Seriously, though, Leo continued, breaking the silence, you have this incredible ability to blend creativity with practicality. It's rare. Maya finally turned back to him, a genuine smile gracing her lips. Coming from a creative who makes a living driving people around, that's quite the compliment. Hey, I have my moments of artistic genius, he protested, feigning offense. I once arranged a bouquet of traffic cones that was avant-garde. Maya burst out laughing, the sound light and carefree. Leo's eyes sparkled as he watched her. The laughter faded, leaving a quiet hum in its wake. The air in the car felt thick, charged with an unspoken current. Maya found herself studying the lines around Leo's eyes, the way his dark hair fell across his forehead. He caught her gaze, and a subtle smile played on his lips. So, she said, suddenly feeling flustered, what's your artistic genius got planned for the rest of the day? She immediately regretted the question, fearing it sounded too forward. Leo chuckled softly, thankfully not making a big deal of it. Actually, I was thinking of checking out that new photography exhibit at the gallery downtown. Landscapes of Iceland, apparently. Want to join? The invitation hung in the air, a silent question mark. Maya hesitated. She had a mountain of paperwork waiting for her, deadlines looming like storm clouds. But the thought of spending more time with Leo, surrounded by art and stimulating conversation, was undeniably appealing. I probably shouldn't, she stammered, already regretting her words. Too much work. Leo simply nodded, his expression unreadable. No worries. Maybe another time. The easy camaraderie seemed to dissipate, replaced by a palpable tension. Maya chewed on her lip, silently cursing her own self-sabotaging tendencies. As the car slowed to a stop outside her apartment building, she knew she'd made a mistake. The recurring ride. The app pinged, confirming Leo would be arriving in 3 minutes. Maya smoothed down her blazer, a nervous flutter in her stomach she couldn't quite explain. It wasn't like she was going on a date. It was just a ride to work. But still, she'd made sure her lipstick was fresh and her hair was behaving, more or less. She'd started scheduling her rides a little differently this week. Instead of just requesting a ride, she'd been meticulously checking the driver profiles, waiting for Leo's name to pop up. It wasn't difficult. He seemed to be online every morning. Initially, she justified it as optimizing her commute, claiming his punctuality and safe driving were simply superior. Now, she wasn't so sure. His silver sedan pulled up, gleaming under the streetlights. Leo's grin was as bright as ever. Morning, Maya! Right on time, as always. Morning, Leo. She slid into the passenger seat, the familiar scent of leather and subtle citrus filling her senses. And yes, precisely on time. Efficiency is key. He chuckled, pulling smoothly into the flow of traffic. So, big plans for world domination today at Sharma and Associates? Something like that, she said, turning to watch the city lights blur past. We're pitching a new campaign to a major client. High stakes. Nervous? Terrified, she admitted, surprised by her own honesty. This could make or break my year. He nodded, his eyes flicking to hers then back to the road. Well, I have faith in you. You strike me as the type who doesn't back down from a challenge. I don't, she agreed, a spark of determination igniting within her. But the pressure is still intense. The silence that followed wasn't awkward, but comfortable. It felt like a space where she could actually breathe. So, Leo said, breaking the quiet as they neared the highway on-ramp. What's your ultimate dream? Not the practical, climb the corporate ladder version, but the real, deep down inside one? Maya frowned, chewing on her lip. She rarely allowed herself to dwell on such fanciful notions. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. Which was a lie. She'd thought about it plenty, but never aloud. Come on, he prodded gently. Everyone has a secret dream. Even the most ambitious corporate lawyer. She hesitated, then blurted out. I want to open a bookstore. He raised an eyebrow, a playful smirk tugging at his lips. Really? That's unexpected. I pictured you running a Fortune 500 company. Maybe someday, she conceded. But the bookstore, it would be small, cozy, filled with the scent of old paper and the sound of turning pages. A place where people can escape. Sounds perfect, he said softly. And what's stopping you? Reality, she replied, the word laced with a touch of bitterness. Student loans, rent, the crushing weight of expectations. He nodded understandingly. Life, huh? It gets in the way sometimes. The rest of the ride passed in a comfortable silence, punctuated by snippets of conversation about their favorite authors and the best coffee shops in the city. As he pulled up in front of her office building, Maya felt a strange sense of disappointment. The ride was over. Thanks, Leo, she said, unbuckling her seatbelt. I actually feel a little less terrified now. He grinned. Anytime, Maya. Maybe we can brainstorm bookstore layouts tomorrow? She laughed, a genuine, unguarded sound. Maybe we can. As she walked into the building, she caught herself smiling. She actually looked forward to tomorrow's ride. And that, she realized with a jolt, was a little unsettling. The green-eyed monster. The morning light, filtered through the grimy windows of the warehouse, painted streaks across the faces of the waiting riders. Maya leaned against a stack of crates, pretending to scroll through her phone, but her eyes kept drifting towards Leo. He was surrounded, a small court of cyclists, all laughing at something he'd said. His hand rested on the handlebars of his bike, the worn leather of his gloves catching the light. He looked comfortable. It wasn't the comfortable Maya usually saw. That was the comfortable of someone at ease in their own skin. This was the comfortable of someone effortlessly connecting with others. He'd always been friendly, but lately, the sheer number of people he seemed to know, the easy camaraderie he cultivated, was grating. A particularly loud burst of laughter erupted from the group. This time, Maya could make out the source, a girl with bright pink hair pulled back into a messy bun. She was leaning close to Leo, her hand lingering a beat too long on his arm. Maya clenched her jaw. She didn't care. She just needed a ride. And maybe, subconsciously, she liked the way Leo had started anticipating her needs, offering a bottle of water before she asked, remembering her preference for the route that avoided the worst of the city's potholes. It was convenient. That was all. Hey, Maya! Leo's voice cut through her internal monologue. He broke away from the group, a sheepish grin on his face. Ready to roll? Whenever you are, she said, striving for a neutral tone. He led her to the bike, his easy smile faltering for a moment as he caught her eye. Everything okay? Peachy, she replied, a little too quickly. As they pulled away from the warehouse, Maya noticed the pink-haired girl watching them go. She waved, a gesture that felt pointedly friendly. Or maybe Maya was just being paranoid. A few blocks later they stopped at the Daily Grind, a coffee shop Leo frequented. "Need caffeine," he announced, hopping off his bike. "My treat." Inside, the air was thick with the aroma of roasting beans and burned sugar. Behind the counter, a girl with perpetually surprised eyes and a scattering of freckles was expertly pulling shots of espresso. "Leo! The usual?" she chirped, her voice several octaves higher than necessary. "Hey, Chloe," Leo said, his smile widening. "Actually, I've got a guest. Maya, this is Chloe. Chloe, Maya." "Hi." Chloe practically vibrated with enthusiasm. "Nice to meet you, Maya. Leo talks about you all the time. Says you're a machine on two wheels." She winked at Leo, who blushed slightly. Maya forced a smile. "Nice to meet you too, Chloe." "Leo talks about me? What exactly did he say? And why was she so bubbly?" Chloe launched into a detailed explanation of the day's special blend, her gaze fixed on Leo the entire time. Maya felt a prickle of irritation. It wasn't just friendliness, it was something else. Something that made her stomach clench. "I'll just have a black coffee," Maya interrupted, before Chloe could launch into a dissertation on the proper temperature for frothing oat milk. As Chloe prepared the drinks, her eyes kept flicking back to Leo, a silent conversation passing between them. Maya watched, a strange, unfamiliar feeling bubbling up inside her. It was hot, uncomfortable, and vaguely unpleasant. Jealousy. She hadn't felt it so acutely since ever. Leo took the coffees, handing one to Maya. "Thanks, Chloe. See you tomorrow?" "Definitely," Chloe chirped, her smile unwavering. Back on the bike, Maya nursed her coffee, the bitterness mirroring the taste in her mouth. She tried to tell herself it was ridiculous. She didn't care about Leo. He was just a convenient ride. But as she pedaled through the city streets, the image of Chloe's bright, eager face kept flashing in her mind. And with it, the unsettling realization that maybe, just maybe, convenience wasn't the only thing keeping her coming back for more. Ghosts of girlfriends passed. The booth's vinyl radiated a faint aroma, bleach fighting a losing battle against lingering coffee, a stark contrast to the electric current arcing between Maya and Leo. Locked in a spirited discussion about coding languages, their geeky debate nonetheless sizzled with energy. Maya, amped on caffeine and driven by her competitive streak, more than held her own against Leo's disarming wit and logical arguments. All right. Leo relented, palms raised in playful surrender. "You win." Python reigns supreme. His grin was infectious, and Maya mirrored it. "Don't sound so glum," she needled. "It's not every day you witness such genius." Leo chuckled, his eyes lingering on her face a beat too long. A quick blink, and he steered back to his coffee. "So," he began, the lightness in his tone subtly muted. "You mentioned checking out those galleries downtown. Still keen?" "Definitely," Maya answered, picking up on the shift. "Having second thoughts?" He hesitated, needlessly swirling the dark liquid in his mug. "It's just..." He paused, searching for the right phrasing. "My relationship track record isn't exactly stellar." A wry smile touched his lips, but Maya glimpsed genuine vulnerability in his expression. "Rough landing?" She probed gently, her curiosity piqued. He sighed, raking fingers through already tousled hair. "Let's just say there were complications. A messy finale involving a purloined feline, a court order, and a hefty dose of regret." Maya's eyebrow arched, fighting back a laugh. "A stolen cat? Seriously?" "Dead serious," he confirmed with a wince. "Sounds absurd now, but it felt like my world was imploding. It made me cautious, you know? About letting someone get too close." The humor evaporated from Maya's face. She'd always known Leo as effortlessly buoyant, a man who navigated life with an unwavering optimism. Witnessing this raw vulnerability felt jarring, and oddly endearing. She recognized the guarded stance, the reluctance to fully invest. It mirrored her own walls. I get it, she responded softly. Sometimes, the echoes of former flames can be deafening. His eyes met hers. Exactly. Echoes of former flames. I like that. He paused, a thoughtful frown creasing his brow. But maybe it's time to turn down the volume. The air between them crackled, thick with unacknowledged possibilities. The sterile diner, the coding face-off, the saga of the stolen cat, all faded to insignificance. In that moment, Maya saw past Leo's charm and playful banter. She saw a man who'd been stung, a man who was hesitant, yet willing to risk another shot. And unexpectedly a flicker of hope sparked within her, that perhaps she was, too. Outside, the street lamp stuttered, painting long shadows through the diner's glass, as they sat in companionable quiet, the ghosts of their pasts a little less insistent. Cookies and confusion. The scent of vanilla and cinnamon hung thick in Maya's apartment, a stark contrast to the usual antiseptic smell of cleaning products. Flour dusted her cheeks like a faint blush as she carefully arranged the still warm chocolate chip cookies on a plate. They were Leo's favorite, a fact she'd filed away after a throwaway comment he'd made during one of their rides. She almost talked herself out of it a dozen times. Too cliché. Too obvious. But the thought of his surprised smile kept pushing her forward. Besides, it was a thank you. A thank you for the late-night rides, the surprisingly insightful conversations, and the way he'd managed to make even the most stressful days feel a little less suffocating. When Leo arrived, Maya was fiddling with the strap of her messenger bag, a nervous habit she usually managed to suppress. He grinned, the familiar crinkle around his eyes instantly easing some of her tension. "Hey, Maya! Ready to roll?" "Yep," she said, grabbing the plate of cookies. "Actually, I wanted to give you something first." "It's nothing much, just a little, thank you." He raised an eyebrow, a playful curiosity in his gaze. "Ooh, a bribe? I like it." He took the plate, his eyes widening as he recognized the cookies. "Seriously? You made these? Chocolate chip?" "You remembered." A genuine smile bloomed on her face. "I have a pretty good memory. Besides, you did mention they were your weakness." He popped one into his mouth, chewing thoughtfully. "These are amazing, Maya. Seriously. Best cookies I've had in ages." She shrugged, trying to downplay the warmth spreading through her chest. "Just a little something. Let's go, or I'll be late." The ride was comfortable, punctuated by easy banter and shared observations about the city lights blurring past. As they pulled up to her office building, another motorcycle was parked nearby. A woman in a black leather jacket leaned against it, helmet tucked under her arm. "Leo!" she called out, waving. "Hey, I thought that was you. Ready for that Sunday ride?" Leo grinned. "Hey, Sarah!" "Yeah, just dropping off Maya here." He turned to Maya. "Sarah's part of our riding group." Sarah walked over, her gaze shifting between Maya and Leo. "So, this is the famous Maya. Leo's always talking about you." She paused, then added with a smile. "You must be his girlfriend." The air seemed to thicken. Maya's stomach lurched. Girlfriend? The word felt heavy and foreign in the humid night air. She opened her mouth to correct the assumption, but Leo spoke first. "Oh, no. Maya's just a regular rider." He glanced at Maya, a flicker of something unreadable in his eyes. Sarah's smile faltered slightly. "Oh. Right. Sorry, I just assumed." She recovered quickly. "Well, nice to meet you, Maya. Maybe you'll join us for a ride sometime?" "Maybe," Maya mumbled, already feeling a knot of anxiety tightening in her shoulders. She grabbed her bag. "Thanks for the ride, Leo. See you later." She hurried inside, the awkwardness of the encounter clinging to her like the city smog. The taste of vanilla and cinnamon, once comforting, now felt like a bitter reminder of her own foolishness. Cookies, she thought, were definitely not the answer. The elephant in the car. The engine hummed a low thrum, a surprisingly soothing counterpoint to the anxious flutter in Maya's chest. Rain slicked the streets outside, blurring the city lights into impressionistic streaks of color. Leo had insisted on driving her home, despite the detour it added to his own journey. She hadn't protested, not really. So, Leo began, his voice carefully neutral. That was interesting. Maya winced, picking at a loose thread on her jeans. Interesting is one word for it. Chaotic. Messy. Potentially career-ending are a few others that spring to mind. She was referring to the disastrous charity gala they both just escaped. He chuckled, a warm, rumbling sound that always seemed to ease the tightness in her shoulders. True. But amidst the chaos, I think we handled it pretty well, all things considered. Silence descended, heavier this time. Maya glanced at Leo. The street lights painted his profile in stark relief, highlighting the curve of his jaw, the thoughtful furrow of his brow. She looked away quickly. Leo, she said, her voice softer than intended, we need to talk about the elephant in the car. He raised an eyebrow. Is that a metaphor for the overflowing donation box we rescued? Maya managed a weak smile. No. It's a metaphor for us. He sighed, a puff of air that fogged the windshield momentarily. Okay. Us. I've been trying to figure out the right way to approach this. Approach what? Maya challenged, though she knew exactly what he meant. This feeling, he said, gesturing vaguely between them. This undeniable thing that's been simmering since the minute we met. Maya's breath caught in her throat. Simmering. That was an apt description. She tried to ignore it, to bury it under a mountain of work and carefully constructed indifference. But the gala, the shared laughter, the way his hand had brushed hers when they were hauling boxes, it had all brought it bubbling to the surface. I'm not good at this, Leo, she admitted, staring out the window. At feelings. At anything that isn't meticulously planned and controlled. I know, he said gently. And I'm not exactly Mr. Commitment myself. I tend to drift. Exactly, Maya said, turning back to him. So we're both flawed individuals with conflicting approaches to relationships. Where does that leave us? He paused at a red light, turning to face her fully. His eyes were earnest, searching. It leaves us with a choice. We can keep ignoring it, pretending it's not there, and probably end up resenting each other. Or we can acknowledge it, see where it goes, and accept that it might not work out. Maya chewed on her lip. The thought of opening herself up to the possibility of rejection, of disappointment, was terrifying. But the thought of letting this opportunity pass, of never knowing what could be, was almost worse. Acknowledge it, she said finally, her voice barely a whisper. Let's acknowledge it. A slow smile spread across Leo's face, lighting up his eyes. So, what does acknowledging it look like? It looks like, Maya said, taking a deep breath, a real date. No charity events, no forced proximity. Just dinner. Or drinks. Or whatever normal people do on dates. I like the sound of that, he said, putting the car in drive as the light turned green. Dinner. Definitely dinner. I know this amazing little Italian place. The rest of the drive passed in comfortable silence, punctuated by occasional bursts of nervous laughter. When they reached her apartment, Leo walked her to the door. So, he said, his hand hovering near her elbow. I'll call you tomorrow? Yes, Maya said, meeting his gaze. Call me. He hesitated for a moment, then stepped back. Good night, Maya. Good night, Leo. As she watched him walk back to his car, Maya couldn't help but smile. The elephant was still there, of course, but it felt a little less imposing now. Maybe, just maybe, they could teach it to dance.